Do you have a plan for 2024?
This audio was taken from a Grow Your Network event where the fabulous Lisa G, the business chick, who is a business coach, went through goal setting exercises with our group.
So today, being January, everything I've been doing the last 30 days really with clients is all about planning for 2024. Even if you've got a plan, it's about, most people have it in their head, or they've got kind of a goal, or they kind of know what they're going to do for the year, but they never put it on paper, ever. There's actually a statistic for it. It's something like 78% of business owners don't have a plan for their year. So that's my first question for you. Do you have a plan for 2024? And do you have it written down on paper? Yes? No? Yes? There was a yes up the end. Phil, do you have a plan for 2024? For the first quarter, the first 90 days? Plan? Sharon does.
I will after tonight.
Yes, you will. Awesome. Marie? Great.
Nicole, it's in my head.
In your head.
Yeah.
There you go.
I have a plan for a plan. So
He's planning a plan. Do you have a plan?
Sort of. Yeah,
Sort of. Yeah. So that statistic's probably spot on, right? About 78% of business owners don't have a plan for 2024. So when you're driving to, I don't know, Bairnsdale, how do you get there? With a plan, a roadmap, a Melways, or a GPS. So how can you possibly expect to make lots of money by the end of 24 if you don't have a roadmap? It will not happen. I can guarantee you it will not happen unless you're in a business where it just accidentally happens, like an electrician, because during COVID they were doing a whole lot of home renovations and they accidentally made a fortune. Accidentally. They didn't have a plan, but now after COVID they're falling apart because they're so overworked they didn't have a plan. So now they can't keep up with all the work that they had, all right? So what's your plan? Number one is you need to have the very clear goal. So what's your goal for 2024? And this is where I really wanted you to have a pen and paper out. We need to know, or you need to know, what your goal is for the end of the year. So we're going to take maybe 2 minutes now, and you can talk to the person next to you if you want to, but I need you to write down something really specific that you want to achieve by the end of 2024. And if you already know what it is, you've just saved yourself 90 seconds. And if you don't, you've got 90 seconds to figure it out. All right? Go for it. Write it down. What specifically do you want to get by the end of 2024? Now, this goal has to be specific. I'm sure you've all heard this before. It has to have some sort of measurement of success in there. How will you know when you've reached this goal? What's that one thing that if you really get it to happen by the end of the year, you're going to feel on top of the world? It's going to mean a lot to you, mean a lot to your family, mean a lot to your business. Have you got yours already? What is it? Do you want to share?
It's not revolutionary.
Yeah.
Because I only started 4 weeks ago. So
Yes.
The calendar year, I want to turn over 300,000.
In the calendar year, 300,000 turnover. That's very specific. So there's a number, so there's a good measurement there. Yeah. Now the key to this goal is, what's that going to do for you personally? So you need to put in this goal. How is that going to affect your life? How will that make you feel? Like, what's the purpose of having that?
Purpose is we'll finish off the renovations on the house.
Yes.
About halfway through.
Yeah.
Live comfortably and go on a big family holiday.
Where?
Where?
Where would you go on?
Japan or New York.
There's the goal. Do you hear the difference? Me going to Japan or New York is way more motivating than numbers. That's just me. But for someone who's an accountant, the numbers are really motivating, okay? But we're talking, so all of everything you just said needs to be in that goal, and it needs to be written down, and it needs to be somewhere where you will see it. Because me going to Japan or New York is going to really get me working every week, not just this week. Yeah, hear the difference? It's like a vision board, yeah. The goal is 300,000 turnover. That's the number, but there's a goal behind that number so that I can go to Japan or New York. Can live comfortably in 2025. And what was the third thing?
Renovation.
And I can renovate my house. That's a huge driver, isn't it? All right, so that's your goal. Have you all got it written down? And if you don't have it like fine-tuned yet, that's what you have to do. Fine-tune it so it's really powerful for you. Now, after that goal, you need to break down your 12 months and think, right, what are the 3 most important things I need to do that will get me there? What are the 3 things that will really make a difference to my business this year that will get me to that goal? And there's a whole lot of other fluffy things that we can do in between all of that, but they'll just happen. And they happen because we're really good at doing fluff to distract ourselves from the important things and to distract ourselves from success, right? So the fluff will just happen anyway. They're really good distractors. But what are those 3 very important things that you'll probably put off because they are a little confronting and they are a little bit difficult and they mean that you're going to have to step up to the next level? What are those 3 things? You need to pinpoint those and write them down. Okay, and if you're not sure, I'll give you 1 minute now to sort of talk amongst yourselves to make sure you've got 3. One of those will probably be something that you don't want to write down because it's hard. Because you've been avoiding it for a couple of years maybe. Some people don't like cold calling, but they know it's a key to your business if that's the type of business you're in. That's your number 1, cold calling? Good. Okay. So from those 3 things, now we need to plan out in the first 3 months of my year, what do I need to achieve to get that 300,000? In the next 3 months, what do I need to achieve? In the next 3 months and the next 3 months. So now you've got a map. You've got you've reversed engineered. This is the achievement I have to have in that next 90 days, January, February, March. And these are the actions that I need to take to get there. And we all know this in our head, but we never write it down. But when it's written down, so that you can be distracted from the end game. Yeah, it has to be written down. Now, ideally, if you can write it on pen and paper, it's better than on phone or on your computer. You know, some of us who are paperless now, we do everything on our computer, but this exercise needs to be on pen and paper for it to be really effective, right? Because we're using a different part of our brain. When we're working digitally, we're black and white within the framework, following the rules. When we're working on pen and paper or pencil, the other side of our brain, our creative side's working. And so there's more possibility. And that's why they call it a mind map. Your mind can be more creative and can actually believe what you're putting down instead of being analytical all the time. So pen and paper is really important in this exercise. All right, so we've got 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. Phil's already got his first 3 months mapped out. Yep. So those 4 lots of quarters need to all add up to the end goal. Yeah? So you can backtrack and keep track on yourself and make sure that you're getting to each step. So what do you do then if you get to the end of the first quarter and you didn't make your first quarter goal? What would you do, Phil?
Beat up on yourself.
You beat up on yourself. Totally do. What would you do?
I just review what I've done and then put what I haven't done into the
into the next quarter, which means you're going to have to work even harder, aren't you, in the next quarter? Most people beat up on themselves, and then instead of working harder in the next quarter to catch up, they actually work less. They give up on themselves. And that's what you need to be aware of, right? There's my record, there's my track record, my map. There's the end goal, there's my plan. Just because I didn't make it in the first quarter doesn't mean I won't make it in the next, but I can't beat up on myself. I need to stand true to this plan that I had when I was actually motivated. How much do I want to go to New York? A lot. And I think that you really need people on your side, because I was just talking earlier and a few people have come up with the things that get in their way. And this isn't just you, this is universal. Accountability makes a huge difference to your success. When you're working for someone else, there's a lot of accountability there. You have to answer to them if you didn't make the phone calls, right? When you're working for yourself, you're only accountable to yourself. And it's easy not to back yourself because you've got this little voice all the time telling you that, oh, don't worry, you don't have to do it today. You don't have to do it this week. Don't worry about it this month. It's too late. Everyone's on holidays. You've got this little voice talking to you, right? But if you've got networks like this and you've got someone that you've buddied up with to be accountable, Andre and I actually buddy up on a few different projects. And we keep each other accountable, don't we? And it starts off as a phone call and it ends up as accountability every time. And she keeps me accountable to what I said I was going to do, and I do the same to her. But to do that, first of all, you have to find someone who's willing to be accountable with you, and also actually tell them what your plan is. So actually share with them, this is what I'm going to do in the next 90 days. And that's commitment. Right? You're committing to it. Here it is. I've written it on paper. Look, Marie, it's on paper. I've written it down. And then Marie says, awesome. Would you like me to hold you accountable to that? Yes, please. That's gold when you're a small business owner, to have someone else that you can bounce off like that. So my challenge to you is to run out there and find someone that you can do that with. Connect with someone even in VSBN who you can do that with, because everyone here is looking for that. Andre's going to keep you accountable to finding an accountability partner. How's that? You got 2 days, yeah? But in that meantime, over that 2 days, you also have some sort of plan that you need to tell them. This is my end goal. This is what I'm going to do in the next 3 months. Got it? Plan it. Put it on paper so you can take a photo of it and give it to them so they've got it as well. Right? It's a bit scary because then you have to actually do it. Yeah? Sorry? Yeah.
So when I start with a business plan,
Yeah.
one of the issues that I always face is, how do I know what is a realistic goal?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're starting.
Yeah.
Because there's no experience
Yeah.
that you have that you can look back and say, oh no, this is not realistic.
Yeah.
This is aiming for too high. And there's no point in setting up a goal which is way too high, unachievable.
And then there's the flip side of that where some people will say, well, why wouldn't I aim high?
Yeah.
And at least then if I even only get halfway, I'm successful.
Yeah. But how do you know what is high? What is normal?
Yep.
What is low?
I think you can, this is just my opinion, you can assume or measure your own workload, what you're willing to put in, what time you're willing to commit to, how much you want to do. So you could also work it from the beginning to the end rather than the end to the beginning, and sort of see what meets in the middle. So at the beginning, you might say, right, I'm going to make 10 phone calls every day. I'm going to do social media this much. I'm going to do this, and this. And realistically, I might get 1 customer from that, one from that. So you can work from the realistic, and then you can also have the end goal and work somewhere in between. Does that make sense? She's nodding kind of. Yeah?
And it doesn't have to be like, even if it's wrong.
If it's wrong, does it matter?
Just adjust it.
But I guess 3 months later when you're reviewing it, you have to be like, I can't keep beating myself up every single time. And I can't keep
So, is it 3 months later that we beat ourselves up, or is it 3 months later that we're just assessing?
yeah.
Oh, okay, so that number wasn't quite right. I know that I did this and I did that. Let's review. Oh, I didn't do that. But that means that this number probably still isn't correct, so I'll lower it a bit for the next 3 months.
Maybe that means your original plan is too ambitious. You need to be
Exactly.
less ambitious.
Exactly. It's not about cement. Ambitious is good. Just don't assume that you're a failure every time you don't reach a number.
Because what if you make it too low? And
Yeah,
you achieve
exactly.
it every time.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Okay, I'm just thinking about my workload.
Because there's a lot going on here, right? Our brains, first of all, get in the way of this. So when you're trying to plan something out, your brain's coming up with all these objections. But how do I do that?
And
Yeah.
you might need someone to bounce off ideas with. Now, I'm serious about holding you accountable in 2 days, having a person. But what I honestly think you should do instead, if you don't have one, and if you do, is actually talk with Lisa. And I just asked her that, and she's very kindly offered to give you guys a free consult, so you can bounce off those ideas and decide whether or not that's a goal worth going for, or is it like it'll be too unrealistic, so I need to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Because again, it's about reassessing. Your goals are always going to change. The goals of every sports team is to win, but they don't all win, right? But they don't give up. They just like, I'm just quitting, right? They'll try
Yeah.
something different. So it's important to have a coach. So whether that's Lisa, if you have a conversation with Lisa, which I highly recommend, or somebody else that you can bounce ideas off, you need to do it.
It's just being able to bounce those ideas off someone else who's objective and can see your end goal, because everything that you're trying to assess, your subconscious will try and block. That's its job. Your subconscious, it has a job of keeping you safe, keeping you comfortable. And he or she does a very good job of that every single day. So that's why an outside assessment is always good to help you stay accountable, prop you up, even just to get those numbers right at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm happy to jump on a call with anyone and nut it all out for you and get you on your way. No worries. Thanks, everyone. I tend to try and get out as much information as I can. So if there's too much there, that's okay. Let's just get on a call and I'll break it down for you, the parts that are a bit too much for you, okay? All right. Good job. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
If you enjoyed this content, consider subscribing. We're going to be interviewing a lot more small business owners in Victoria, and we'd love for you to listen in, maybe gain some insight and some knowledge into what is happening around Victoria. We'd love your feedback. So if you had any questions or have any ideas for future podcasts, make sure you comment. We definitely be checking it out and putting into practice. We'd love to improve and give value and give great content to you. In the meantime, check us out, Victorian Small Business Network, or go to our website, vsbn.com.au. And most of our social handles, you can find us at Victorian SBN. See you soon.